Welcome back to Andersen Acres. It is a sunny fall day, so we're hanging out in the sun here with Arwen and, of course, Shadowfax. And today I wanted to talk about some basic tips for training your goats, because goats can be trained. Okay, if you don't want them to run from you, you need to train them to run to you. Because goats are really good at running and scratching their heads on boards. Yeah, you good at scratching your head on a board? Is that what you're good at? Yeah? She's very good at it. But they will run from you if they don't run to you. Now, if you're a large-scale producer, maybe you raise meat goats and you don't really need to train them, then none of this applies to you. But if you have pet goats, or you have goats that you want to enter into 4-H, or you have goats that you want to train for recreation, you got to make sure they don't run away from you even before you can do any of the other training. Okay, you have to make sure that they will come, or at least not run. Now, you need to be able to catch them, lead them, and tie them. And when I say tie them, I don't just mean randomly tie them up. I mean they need to be able to stay calm at a hitching rail. Okay, you need to be able to tie them, and they need to stand there and not freak out, not completely panic. So, how do you do this? Well, the best way to start is by using food. Goats love food. They are so food motivated that you should always use food to train your goats. Always, always, always. Okay? You can also use food to train your goat to respond to like clickers or marks. Clicker training works really, really well for goats. It works well for a lot of mammals. Clickers are used to train dolphins and dogs and horses. They can also be used for goats. There are a lot of good books and trainers out there that talk about really good clicker training. Most of that is applicable to goats as well as dogs. So get yourself a good book on clicker training, or maybe find a trainer who specializes in clicker training and talk to them. But clicker training really, really works wonders for goats, because you click and you give food. You click and you give food. You click and you give food. Eventually, they associate the click with food. You can reward it with a click much faster than you can reward with food. It just makes it so much faster to train your goat, as long as you always follow up the click with a snack. They love snacks. They absolutely love snacks. But food is always the key, okay? They'll do anything for animal crackers. That's why so many of us use animal crackers for our goats, because they'll do literally anything for a good animal cracker. So absolutely, get yourself some animal crackers, get yourself a little clicker, or you can use verbal marks, right? You can say yes, like I do with my dogs, instead of using clickers. You can do that as well. But anything that basically will reward your goat, then you give them a snack. Right? Mark, snack, mark, snack. Eventually, they figure out that the mark means a snack is coming, and they will start doing what you are encouraging them to do. So, reward training always works best, but I'm often asked, how do you deter a goat from doing something? Maybe they're eating the siding on my house. Okay, if they're eating the siding on your house, you have to stop them. Food's not the way to do that. Yes, you can distract and give a snack, but if they're really doing something that's dangerous for them, so they're eating something they shouldn't, you need to respond really, really fast. Don't get violent with a goat, ever. That will scare them. A scared goat will never come to you. Okay? Do not frighten your goats. It doesn't work. Don't run around yelling and screaming and waving your arms and chasing the goat. Goats think chasing is a game. So then you've turned it into a game, thus rewarding the bad behavior. A good thing to do is just get a child's water gun, not a high-powered one, gentle water gun, and just give them a spritz. Goats hate being wet, especially if they get water in their face. So you just give them a very gentle spritz, okay? You don't use a high-powered water gun. You don't want to hurt them. You just gently spritz, 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 and then they'll stop, okay? You spritz, spritz, spritz every single time they're doing the thing you don't want them to do. They will eventually stop. They'll give it up as long as you're consistent and you don't scream at them. Goats do not respond well to the screaming and the pushing, and they don't do that well. Use snacks, use a water gun if you absolutely must to deter them, but goats really just do not do well if you are trying to basically discipline them or punish them out of behaviors. It doesn't really work, so don't do it. One of the things you're going to have to do if you want to handle your goats well is they have to be able to lead. Now you're going to notice Arwen wears a collar. Okay, I find collars a little bit easier than halters. Yes, you can get halters. She has a weird shaped face, so it's hard to find a halter that fits her face really well. Collars they fit her face better. She's just lounging in the sun, by the way. Somebody's going to go, oh, is she sick? No, she's sunning herself. She's loving this fall sun. It's not overly hot, but it's still nice and sunny, and she can just chill in the sun. And Shadowfax, it wants to be out. You will come out in a little bit. We're going to let you out. Don't worry about it. We're going to let you out. You can always get out. Anyway, goat's fine. But I don't love halters. You can use halters. They do give you a little more control because you can control the whole head instead of just grabbing at the neck. I find collars are a little easier to use, and they're way easier to source. You just use dog collars. You don't need a goat collar. You just, go to the pet store, buy a dog collar that fits your goat's neck, and you're fine. Halters are a little harder to find to fit perfectly on goats, especially smaller goats. Now, they do make sheep and goat halters, and those work better on larger breeds. Like, she's really small. So because she's so small, those halters don't work wonderfully. So we do use a collar for Arwen. You can obviously use halters if they work better for you. It's really going to depend on what you prefer and whether your goat fits those harnesses. Halters, not harnesses. But my goat doesn't fit those halters. She's got a really small, funny shaped head. They come right off. It doesn't work. Whatever you're using, don't use any kind of choke type or slip type, because if the goat panics, you could choke them. You don't want to do that, so don't use a slip collar or a choke collar or anything like that. They're not safe. And don't ever leave your goats tied unsupervised, right? So you don't want to go and tie your goat without you there to supervise, because if your goat panics, they can be seriously injured or even killed. So if you are going to tie your goat, make sure that you have someone supervising if you're not supervising yourself, and just make sure that they're not left like that for an extended period of time. You do want to be aware and ready to assist if that goat panics. Goats do tend to panic. They get a little bit squirrely if they are restrained in funny ways. So keep an eye on your restrained goat. Don't leave them like that unsupervised. They could get hurt. Anyway, that is about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.